Alright, let's be real for a second. No matter how you start your Oblivion Remastered playthrough, you always end up sneaking through dungeons with a bow drawn, right? It's like a rite of passage. But this time around, thanks to the expanded mechanics and more refined magic system, being an archer isn't just about lurking in the shadows and racking up sneak crits. Whether you're role-playing a magic archer straight out of Dragon's Dogma, or you're stomping around in full Daedric plate launching arrows like ballista bolts, Oblivion Remastered gives you the freedom to really define your playstyle. Now, early game, any old bow will do. But once you hit those higher levels, you're gonna want something special, your forever bow. The kind of weapon you proudly hang up in your player home when you're not one-shotting leeches with it. In this video, we're diving into the absolute best late-game bows you can get your hands on in Oblivion Remastered. We'll break down what makes them stand out, how their enchantments stack up, and why you might want to wait until you're at least level 19 before grabbing them. Let's get into it. I'm quickly moving on to the video. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching! Let's talk about a bow that might not look like much at first glance, but trust me, it packs a punch. The Bow of Harm might not have some over-the-top enchantments or a flashy name, but sometimes simplicity is exactly what you need, especially when it is backed up by solid stats. With a straightforward enchantment that deals 8 points of health damage per shot, it is the kind of weapon that just gets the job done. No drama, no nonsense. Now, you are not going to stumble upon this bow the moment you step out of the Imperial sewers. It starts showing up in dungeon loot once you hit level 14, which, if you think about it, is right when the game begins to open up. You are probably knee-deep in guild quests, or exploring Daedric shrines by then. The Bow of Harm fits perfectly into this stage of the game because it bridges that tricky gap between the early game struggle and late game domination. What really makes this bow stand out, though, is its material, glass. Glass weapons are iconic in Oblivion Remastered, and not just for their sleek, green aesthetic. They are lightweight, fast, and hit hard. If you are an archer, that combination is basically a dream come true. Even if archery is not your primary playstyle, having this bow as a secondary option can completely change how you approach tougher encounters. You will be surprised how often you find yourself reaching for it. So yeah, the Bow of Harm might be just a glass bow with a basic health damage enchantment, but do not let that fool you. In the hands of a skilled player who knows how to time their shots and stay mobile, it becomes a mid to late game powerhouse. Until you get your hands on something truly legendary, this bow can absolutely carry you through some of the toughest fights in the game. Keep an eye out for it. You might just find your new favorite weapon tucked away in some forgotten ruin. If you are getting into the late stages of Oblivion Remastered and your build leans heavily into archery, then you are probably on the hunt for the best bow you can get your hands on. Let me save you some time. Look no further than the Daedric Bow. This beast of a weapon is a returning favorite from across the Elder Scrolls series, and as usual, it does not disappoint. With a base damage of 20, without any enchantments, it hits like a truck and looks menacing while doing it. What makes the Daedric Bow so special, aside from the damage, is the fact that it sits right at the top tier of standard weaponry. It is not a unique artifact, but it is forged with that same dark Daedric flair. It has the signature style that screams endgame, and absolutely earns its reputation. Once you equip it, you will instantly feel the power difference, especially if you have been rocking a lower tier bow up until now. Now, getting your hands on one might take a little patience. Daedric gear starts showing up in the game's leveled loot and merchant inventories once you hit level 20. So if you are not there yet, do not stress. Just keep leveling and keep checking those chests. And if you are already past level 20, then congratulations. Your chances of finding this bow just skyrocketed. That said, do not expect it to come cheap. Vendors know what they are selling, and the price tag reflects its destructive potential. All in all, the Daedric Bow is one of those weapons that just feels right when you finally earn it. It is the kind of gear that makes the grind worth it. If your playstyle is all about sneaking through shadows, lining up that perfect shot, and watching enemies drop before they even know what hit them, then this bow is going to be your best friend. Just remember, when you see it for sale or looted from a tough enemy, grab it. No hesitation. This is the bow that takes your archer build from pretty good to absolute monster. Alright, let's talk about one of the most underrated but absolutely deadly bows you can get your hands on in Oblivion Remastered. the Bow of Infliction. At first glance, it might not scream god-tier weapon, especially when you stack it next to a Daedric bow, but do not let the base damage fool you. This thing is hiding some serious magical firepower that can turn a tough fight into target practice. It is one of those weapons that is not just about brute force. It is about smart play. So what makes the Bow of Infliction special? Simple. The enchantment. Every shot hits your enemy with 5 points of agility damage and drains 15 points of their marksman skill for a full 60 seconds. That is a nasty combo, especially when you are facing off against other archers. You are not just chipping away at their health, you are actively making them worse with every hit. It is like turning their own strengths against them, and if you ask me, that is the kind of chaos I live for in a high-level dungeon crawl. But here's the real kicker. This bow is especially useful in those late-game moments when enemies hit harder, shoot faster, and have annoyingly perfect aim. You are deep in some alien ruin, arrows flying past your head, and suddenly you remember you have this bow sitting in your inventory. One shot and the enemy's accuracy drops, their movement slows, and suddenly they are not so scary anymore. Whether it is a bandit with a glass bow or a marauder charging with a claymore, this enchantment gives you a tactical edge that raw damage numbers just cannot match. Now, if you are wondering where to find this beauty, make your way to Breville and check out the Archer's Paradox run by Dainlin. He sells the Bow of Infliction, but be warned, it comes with a base price of 5,240 gold. That is before merchant markups, so unless you have the mercantile skills of a master trader, bring a fat coin purse. Trust me though, it is worth every septim. For late-game archers who like a bit of strategy in their combat, this bow might just become your new best friend. If you are diving into Oblivion Remastered and you are on the hunt for one of the best late-game bows, then you absolutely need to know about the Perfect Madness and Amber bows from the Shivering Isles expansion. These bows are not just cool-looking. They are game-changers when it comes to taking down enemies with style and power. Once you hit level 23 and have the right materials, you can forge one of these beauties at Cutter's Weapons in Crucible, and believe me, they hit like a truck. Both the Perfect Madness bow and the Perfect Amber bow come with the same powerful enchantment, damage health 20 points. That might not sound too wild at first, but in practice, it absolutely melts enemy health bars. It is the kind of enchantment that makes even the tougher late-game foes feel a bit less intimidating. The main difference between the two bows is their appearance. Madness has that heavy, dark, almost brutal design, while Amber looks more elegant and otherworldly. Functionally, though, they are equals, and both are top tier. Now here is something important. If you show up at Cutter's Weapons before level 23 with Madness or Amber, you will still get a pretty solid bow, just not the perfect version. Those early versions are still totally usable, especially for mid-game content, but they will not carry you all the way through the endgame as effectively. The perfect versions scale beautifully and can stay relevant as you keep leveling up, so if you are planning your build and thinking long-term, it is definitely worth waiting until level 23 before crafting these bows. Stockpile your Madness or Amber, get your character ready, and then make the trip to Crucible. Whether you are role-playing a sneaky archer or just want raw damage output in your ranged weapon, the Perfect Madness or Amber bow will not let you down. Just be ready for your enemies to drop fast, because once you have this in your hands, the fight is pretty much over before it starts. Alright, let us talk about one of the most underrated gems in the Elder Scrolls 4, Oblivion Remastered, the Bow of Soulstorms. If you are deep into the late game and still hunting for that perfect combination of damage and utility in a bow, you are definitely going to want to hear about this one. This is not just any old enchanted weapon. It is basically two incredibly useful enchantments fused into one sleek, deadly package. So what makes the Bow of Soulstorm so special? First, it hits with a solid 20 points of shock damage, which is great on its own. But on top of that, it also has a built-in soul trap for 5 seconds. That means every time you bring down a target with this bow, there is a high chance their soul gets trapped, ready to recharge your enchanted weapons. It is like having your own personal supply line of soul gems, and you do not even have to go out of your way to farm them. You can actually find this bow as part of the leveled loot in the Shivering Isles expansion. That means the better your level, the better the version of this bow you are going to get. It is kind of like a hidden treasure waiting at the far end of the loot list, and when it finally drops, it feels like the game is rewarding you for sticking it out through all the madness of the Isles. Honestly, it is the kind of weapon that makes you say, Why did I not get this sooner? The best part? This bow is perfect for players who love juggling multiple enchanted weapons or magic staves. Since it constantly helps you recharge soul gems, it takes a lot of pressure off your inventory management. You can go into battle knowing your favorite gear is going to stay charged a lot longer. In other words, the Bow of Soulstorms does not just deal damage, it keeps your entire loadout running smoothly. For any late-game adventurer, this bow is more than just a weapon. It is a game changer. Hatred's Soul is one of those weapons in Oblivion Remastered that you do not just find, you earn. Sure, you can technically get it pretty early if you stumble into the right Oblivion Gate layout near Coral, but here is the thing. Veteran players know better. They wait. Because once you hit the highest level tier, this bow becomes an absolute monster. We are talking about the strongest bow in the entire game, aside from any overpowered enchanted nonsense you might craft yourself. What makes Hatred's Soul stand out is not just its raw damage, although it hits like a truck. It is the synergy between its effects that really turns it into a late-game beast. You are looking at 35 points of fire damage per shot, which is already nothing to laugh at. But then you stack that with its speed drain effect, 30 points for 45 seconds. That is not just a mild inconvenience for your enemy, that is crippling. You are slowing them down so much that getting in an extra shot or two before they even get close becomes easy. And the magic does not stop there. Combine Hatred's Soul with its matching arrows. Yes, the bow has its own custom arrows, and the damage skyrockets. This setup is a dream for anyone running an archer build focused on hit-and-run tactics. You take the first shot, cripple their speed, and then you keep raining down fire damage while they desperately try to close the distance. Spoiler, they usually do not make it. So is Hatred's Soul the best bow for the late game in Oblivion Remastered? Honestly, unless you are rolling around with some ridiculous custom enchantment setup, it absolutely is. It hits hard, slows your enemies down, and lets you stay in control of the battlefield. Just remember, wait to pick it up until you are at a higher level. Trust me, it is worth the patience. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.